magic word. Here in the secret kindergarten, the world's best show for kids is starting. The Secret Kindergarten Radio Show. Use your ears and your imagination. We're going to play, we're having fun. The Magic Secret Kindergarten on the Revolution Radio Station.
Welcome back to the Secret Kindergarten. I'm your host, Gino. And we've got a story coming up, some music, and a little lesson about a certain tree. Right now, I'm going to read you a story. And it's Brothers Grimm story time. I'm going to get my giant Brothers Grimm storybook out. And this one's called Lazy Heinz. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Heinz was lazy. And even though he had nothing else to do but drive his goat to pasture every day, he still groaned when he came home at night after a full day's work. Truthfully, he said, it's a heavy burden and hard job driving a goat into the field year after year up till the end of autumn. If only I could lie down during work and sleep. But no, I've got to keep my eyes open so that the goat won't damage the young trees, break through a hedge into a garden, or even run away. How could anyone get any rest or enjoy life this way? He sat down, collected his thoughts, and pondered the ways he might lift this burden from his shoulders. For a long time, all his thinking was in vain. Then suddenly, an idea occurred to him. I know what I'll do, he exclaimed. I'll marry Fat Trina. She has a goat too, and she can drive mine and hers out to pasture. Then I won't have to torment myself any more. So Heinz lifted himself up, set his weary legs in motion, and went straight across the road, for he had to go no farther than that to get to the house of Trina's parents, where he asked for the hand of their diligent and virtuous daughter. The parents did not have to think long about this offer. Birds of a feather flock together, they thought, and gave their consent. So Fat Trina became Heinz's wife and drove the two goats to the pasture. Heinz now had good times and did not need to recuperate from anything more strenuous than his own laziness. Only every now and then did he go out with Trina, and he would explain, I'm merely doing this so that I can enjoy my rest afterward even more. Otherwise I might lose all feeling for it. However, Fat Trina was no less lazy. Dear Heinz, she said one day, why should we make our lives so dreary and ruin the best years of our youth when there's no need for it? Wouldn't we be better off if we traded our two goats to our neighbour? They disturb our sweetest sleep each morning with their bleating, and I'm sure that our neighbour would give us his beehive for them. We can place the hive on a sunny spot behind the house and not have to concern ourselves about it. Bees don't have to be tended or taken out to pasture. They fly out and find their own way home again. Moreover, they gather honey by themselves, and we won't have to exert ourselves in the least. You've spoken like a sensible woman, Heinz replied. Let's carry out your plan without delay. Besides, honey tastes better and is more nourishing than goat milk. And it also keeps longer. The neighbour was glad to give them his beehive for the 2 goats. The bees flew tirelessly in and out of the hive from early morning until late in the evening. And they filled the hive with the finest honey. By autumn, Heinz was able to take out an entire jugful. They placed the jug on a shelf high on the wall in their bedroom, since they feared that it could be stolen or that mice could get at it. Trina fetched a sturdy hazel stick and laid it next to their bed so that she could reach it, and, without getting up unnecessarily, could chase away uninvited guests. Lazy Heinz did not like to get out of bed before noon. The earlier you rise, the sooner you sap your strength, he said. One morning, while he was still lying in bed on a bright, sunny day, resting from his long sleep, he said to his wife, "Women love sweets, and you like to nibble away at the honey. So before you eat up everything, I think it's best that we exchange it for a goose with a young gander." "But not before we have a child to look after them," replied Trina. "Do you want me to wear myself out and waste away my strength for no reason at all?" "Do you think our son will tend the geese?" asked Heinz. "Nowadays, children no longer obey. They do as they please because they think they are smarter than their parents, just like that servant who was supposed to search for the cow and went hunting for 3 blackbirds." "Oh," Trina answered. "He'll really get it from me if he doesn't do what I say. I'll take a switch and tan his hide. But look. Look, Heinz," she exclaimed. "You see, this is the way I'll hit him." She swung out her arm to demonstrate, but unfortunately, she hit the honey jug over the bed. The jug smashed against the wall and broke into pieces, and the beautiful honey flowed all over the floor. "Well, there goes the goose with the gander," said Heinz. "They won't need tending now. Anyway, it's lucky that the jug did not fall on my head. We have every reason to be grateful for the way things are." And as he noticed that there was still some honey in a piece of the jug, he reached for it and said with delight, "Let us enjoy this leftover, my wife, and then we shall rest a little after the fright we've just had. What harm is it if we get up a little later than usual? The day is indeed long enough." "Yes," answered Trina. "We'll always get to the end of it in due time. You know, the snail was once invited to a wedding and set upon its way, but it only arrived in time for the christening. In front of the house it fell over the fence and said, 'Haste makes waste.'" Well, there you go. Well, there are a couple of lazy people. But you know what? They were also grateful. And it's good to be grateful. I got some music I want to play you thanks to the lovely, wonderful Nancy Stewart of nancymusic.com. Here we go. Let's listen to some music.
Over the river and through the woods to grandfather's house we go. The horse knows the way to carry the sleigh through white and drifted snow. Over the river and through the woods, oh how the wind does blow. It stings, it blows and bites the nose. the fun is the pudding done. Hurrah for the pumpkin pie. Walk around the edge of the web, but don't get stuck. Walk around the edge of the web, but don't get stuck. Don't go into the middle, my friend. You'll get stuck, it will be the end. You can walk around the edge of the web, but don't get stuck. Boom, boom, boom. Walk around the edge of the web, but don't get stuck. Walk around the edge of the web, but don't get stuck. Don't go into the middle, my friend. You'll get stuck, it will be the end. You can walk around the edge of the web, but don't get stuck. Boom, 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 boom. Arachnid, 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 arachnid. I'm a spider, I'm a spider, I'm a spider, I'm a spider. I am not an insect, I am not an insect. Arachnid, 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 arachnid. I'm a spider, 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 I'm not an insect, I'm a spider, I am not an insect, I am not an insect.
All right. Now I've got an audiobook, a story I want to play you, and it's educational. It's about the oak tree. Do you know what an oak tree looks like? Have you seen one before? Have you climbed one before? They're lovely big trees. Here we go. This is the oak.
Trees Shown to the Children by C.E. Smith and Janet Harvey Kelman. The Oak. Of all our forest trees, the oak is undoubtedly the king. It is our most important tree, the monarch of our woods, full of noble dignity and grandeur in the summer sunshine, strong to endure the buffeting of the wintry gales. It lives to the great age of 700 years or more, and is a true father of the forest. We read of the oak tree in the storybooks of long ago. There are many oak trees mentioned in the Bible. In Greece, the oak was believed to be the first tree that God created, and there grew a grove of sacred oaks which were said to utter prophecies. The wood used for the building of the good ship Argo was cut from this grove, and in times of danger, the planks of the ship spoke in warning voices to the sailors. In Rome, a crown of oak leaves was given to him who should save the life of a citizen, and in this country, in the days of the Druids, there were many strange customs connected with the oak and its beautiful guest, the mistletoe. The burning of the Yule log of oak is an ancient custom which we trace to Druid times. It was lit by the priests from the sacred altar. Then the fires in all the houses were put out, and the people relit them with torches kindled at the sacred log. Even now, in remote parts of Yorkshire and Devonshire, the Yule log is brought in at Christmas time and half burned. Then it is taken off the fire and carefully laid aside till the following year. We know that in Saxon times this country was covered with dense forests, many of which were of oak trees. Huge herds of swine fed on the acorns which lay in abundance under the trees. And a man, when he wished to sell his piece of forest, did not tell the buyer how much money the wood in it was worth, but how many pigs it could fatten. In times of famine, the acorns used to be ground, and bread was made of the meal. There have been many famous oak trees in England. One of these we have all heard of, the huge oak at Boscobel, in which King Charles II hid with a great many of his men after he was defeated at the Battle of Worcester. I think you will have no difficulty in recognizing an oak tree at any time of the year. Look at its trunk in winter, how dark and rough it is, how wide and spreading at the bottom, to give its many roots a broad grip of the earth, into which they pierce deeply. Then, as the stem rises, it becomes narrower, as if the tree had a waist, for it broadens again as it reaches a height where the branches divide from the main trunk. And what huge branches these are! Great, rough, dark arms, with many crooked knots or elbows, which shipbuilders prize for their trade. These oak tree arms are so large and heavy that the tree would need to be well rooted in the ground to stand firm when the gale is tossing its branches as if they were willow rods. The oak tree does not grow to a great height. It is a broad, sturdy tree, and it grows very slowly. So slowly that after it is grown up, it rarely increases more than an inch in a year, and sometimes not even that. But just because the oak tree lives so leisurely, it outlasts all its companions in the forest, except perhaps the yew tree, and its beautiful, hard, close-grained wood is the most prized of all our timber. In the end of April or early in May, the oak leaves appear. Very soft and tender they are too at first, and of a pale reddish-green color. But soon they darken in the sunshine and become a dark glossy green. Each leaf is feather-shaped and has a stalk. The margin is deeply waved into blunt lobes or fingers, and there is a strongly marked vein up the center of the leaf, with slender veins running from it to the edge. In autumn these leaves change color. They become a pale brown, and will hang for weeks, rustling in the branches, till the young buds which are to appear next year begin to form, and so push the old leaves off. If a shriveling frost or a blighting insect destroys all the young oak leaves, as sometimes happens, then the sturdy tree will reclothe itself in a new dress of leaves, which neither the beech, nor the chestnut, nor the maple could do. It shows what a great deal of life there is in the stout tree. The flowers of the oak arrive about the same time as the leaves, and they grow in catkins, which are of two kinds. You will find a slender hanging catkin on which grow small bunches of yellow-headed stamens. Among the stamens you can see 6 or 8 narrow sepals, but these stamens have no scales to protect them, as the hazel and birch catkins have. On the same branch grows a stouter, upright catkin, and on it are 1 or maybe 2 or 3 tiny cups, made of soft green leaves called bracts, and in the center of this cup sits the seed vessel crowned with 3 blunt points. As the summer advances, this seed vessel grows larger and fatter, and becomes a fruit called an acorn, which is a pale yellow color at first, and later is a dark olive brown. The soft leafy cup hardens till it is firm as wood, and in it the acorn sits fast till it is ripe. It then falls from the cup and is greedily eaten by the squirrels and dormice, as it was in the olden times by the pigs. From those acorns that are left lying on the ground all winter under the withered leaves will grow the tiny shoots of a new tree when the spring sunshine comes again. The oak tree is the most hospitable of trees, It is said that 1,100 insects make their home in its kindly shelter. There are 5 kinds of houses which are called galls, built by insects, and you can easily recognize these, and must look for them on the oak tree. Sometimes on the hanging stamen catkins you will find little balls like currants, with the catkin stem running through the center. These are the homes of a tiny grub which is living inside the currant ball, and which will eat its way out as soon as it is ready to unfold its wings and fly. Often at the end of an oak twig you find a soft spongy ball which is called an oak apple. It is pinkish-brown on the outside and is not very regular in shape. This ball is divided inside into several cells, and in each cell there lives a grub, which will also become a fly before summer is over. Sometimes if you look at the back of an oak leaf, you will see it covered with small red spangles, which are fringed and hairy. These spangles each contain a small insect, and they cling to their spangled homes long after the leaves have fallen to the ground. Another insect home or gall grows in the leaves, and this one is much larger, sometimes as big as a marble. It too is made by an insect which is living inside, and this is called a leaf gall. There is still another insect which attacks the leaf buds and causes them to grow in a curious way. Instead of opening as usual, the bud proceeds to make layers of narrow-pointed green leaves, which it lays tightly one above the other, like the leaves of an artichoke or the scales of a fir cone. If you cut one of these oak cones in half, you will find many small insects inside, which have caused the bud to grow in this strange way. And there is one other oak gall you must note. When the leaves have all fallen, and the twigs are brown and bare, you see clusters of hard brown balls growing on some of them. They are smooth and glossy, and the color of dried walnuts. These also have been made by an insect. Sometimes you see the tiny hole in the ball by which the grub has bored its way out. This kind of gall does great harm to the tree, as it uses up the sap that should nourish the young twigs. The wood of the oak is very valuable. Sometimes a fine old tree will be sold for 400 pounds, and every part of it can be used. The bark is valuable because it contains large quantities of an acid which is used in making ink, also in dyeing leather. Oak that has been lying for years in a peat bog, where there is much iron in the water, is perfectly black when dug out, black as ink, because the acid and the iron together have made the inky color. The wood of an oak tree lasts very long. There are oak beams in houses which are known to be 700 years old, and which are as good as the day they were cut. For centuries our ships were built of oak, the wooden walls of old England, hearts of oak, as they have often been called, because oak wood does not readily splinter when struck by a cannonball, and oak wood will not quickly rot. We know of piles which have been driven into riverbeds centuries ago, and are still sound and strong. In pulling down an old building lately in London, which was built 650 years ago, the workmen found many oak piles in the foundations, and these were still quite sound.
And there we go. That's the oak tree. Boy, they like to keep a lot of insects, those oak trees. Super helpful. And thanks so much for tuning in, and remember, I love you. Bye. And coming up, the Willow's Poetry Corner. So get your teas and your coffees and your cupcakes ready. See you at the next one.